Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Software Testing with Ri. Today we will learn two very important SQL clauses, group by and having, with easy examples. Let's get started. We often work with large amount of data. Group by and having help us to summarize data. For example, if we want to know how many orders per customer or total sales per month or students per grade. These clauses are also very common in SQL interview questions, so it's very useful to learn them. Group by groups rows that have the same values. Then we can perform calculations on each group. For example, if we want to count how many employees are in each department or total sales in each for each customer, let's see how it works. Here's the syntax. First, we select a column and an aggregate function like count, sum, average. Then we add group by to the end to group by that column. Here's a simple example. We have employees and their departments. We want to count how many employees are in each department. Group by help us to do this, and we get the results here. Another example. Here we have an orders table. We want to know the total sales for each customer. Group by customer ID and use some amount. You can see the total for each customer in the result. Here is one more example, a student table with grades. We want to count total how many students got each grade. Again, we group by grade and use count star and we get this result. Let's learn about the having clause. Group by groups the data, but sometimes we want to filter the groups. That's where having clause is used. Where clause filters rows, but having clause filters groups by after group by. The syntax is simple. After group by, we add having and a condition, usually with an aggregate function like count or sum. Here's an example using having clause. We group by department and count employees. Now we want to show only departments with more than one employee. Having count star greater than 1 will filter the groups, and here's the result. Here's another example. We group order by customer and sum the amount. Now we want to show only customers whose total sales are more than 500. Having some amount greater than 500 filters those groups, and here we get this result. Now let's compare where and having. Where clause filters rows up before group by, having clause filters groups after group by. You often use both together in one query. Here's a query using both where and having clause. First, where clause removes any rows with null names. Then we group by department. Finally, having filters out groups with only one employee. So we combine where, group by and having. Here's another example of orders. First, where filters out small amount less than 100. Then we group by customer. Finally, having filters out customers whose total sales are less than equal to 500. This is a full example of where plus group by plus having clause. Another example of student table. First, where removes rows with null names. Then we group by grade. Finally, having filters grades with less than 2 students. Again, we use where, group by and having together. Let's summarize. Group by groups rows into categories. Having filters those categories after grouping, where filters rows before grouping. Together, they help us analyze and report data easily in SQL. Thank you so much for watching this video on group by and having clause in SQL. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel, which is Software Testing with Ri. I'll be bringing more easy to understand videos on SQL and software testing topics very soon. Stay tuned and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.